Now that you have your input gain set appropriately for all of your instruments, and then you've mixed stuff to sound the way that you want to sound, both in the church and on your vMix bus, um, the last thing that you want to know to make running your service go smoothly is the mute groups and the Automix. So Automix is this lovely feature that works fantastic for speaking mics because it will identify which mic is getting significantly more volume than the others, and it will automatically mute, not completely mute, but drastically lower the volume of the other speaking mics. So you can have both lecterns on and it won't make it sound bad hearing the two lectern mics because it's going to recognize which one's being used. So in order to include a microphone in the Automix, you'll see wireless 1 and 2 have these little X's. And over here on lectern left and lectern right, you'll see they also have the X's pressed. And then up here is where you turn the whole thing on or off, Automix. So we've got X's active. If I uncheck that, you'll see those little blue bars that were just there disappeared. I'll turn it back on. So I'm talking directly into wireless 1, and you'll see that as I'm talking into it, these blue bars on the other Automix enabled channels are going way, way down. That's showing how much it's like muting those microphones. When I stop talking, you'll see how the lectern mics, because they're very sensitive, they start to go up. They're muting less. They're trying to be open and ready for someone to talk into them. So this is a great feature for speaking mics, but it works terrible for musicians because we don't want the mixer to be trying to mute different musicians based on one being slightly louder than another. So we can use this Automix with the speaking mics in conjunction with mute groups so that when somebody is up preaching and talking, with one button we can mute all of the music mics that are out on the floor so they're not picking up all sorts of random sound and picking up the speakers, projecting the sound. And then also when the musicians are playing, if there's going to be nobody at the lectern mics and it's just music, we can use another mute group to mute all of those. So right now, if you look at the bottom, right above the mute buttons, all of these mics between piano right, input 14, all the way back to the yellow wired mic, when you do your starting settings, they're already set to mute group 2. And you can see that by looking at these little boxes right above mute. They correspond to 4 available mute groups. So the one on the left is mute group 1, the second one is mute group 2, and that's the only ones you need to worry about because we only use those 2. Then you'll notice that mics 15 and 16, which are the 2 lectern mics, they're set to mute group 1. Wireless mic 1 and 2 don't have any mute groups set right now, and that's because we don't know, I can't know in advance if these mics are going to be used for a headset mic for the minister, or maybe the minister is planning on speaking completely at the lectern that day and isn't going to wear a mic, and you might be using these for singers. So if you're using wireless mic for a headset and you want to be able to mute that headset when musicians play, you would just click the little box on the far left to add that to mute group 1. And if wireless mic, let's say, is going to be used for a singer and not for speaking, we could click the little box to add it to mute group 2 for our music. And also, if we're going to do that, we would unselect the little button for the Automix. So now only wireless mic 1 and both lectern mics are using the Automix feature, and they're also the only ones set to mute group 1. And I'm going to switch now so you can see the Stream Decks. On the Stream Deck, we have speech mute 1, and that's why I always use mute group 1 for speaking mics, because we have it labeled that way on the buttons here. And then we have music mute group 2. So the beginning of the service, we know we're going to have the minister come out and first start talking. So before we even start the stream, we can click music mute 2. And you'll notice on the mixer, it muted everything from wireless mic 2, which we're going to use for our singer, and all of the wired mics, the DI boxes, the keyboards, drums, piano, everything is muted except for lectern left and right and wireless 1. Then if we get to the point where we are going to have music and we want all those music mics to come on, we can just uncheck music mute 2. You see that across the bottom, they all became unmuted. And then we can press speech mute 1. And now we've muted the lectern mics and wireless 1. So this is a very good thing to know, to be able to just mute those two groups for the two types of things that are happening. And it will make your sound so much more clean than if all the mics are just left on all the time. And it does it in a way that's a lot easier than having to go through every single microphone one by one and turning them on and off. So mute group 1, mute group 2, and Automix, those are your friends.